Am I here because it's great, or is it great because I'm here? These words kind of defined Melbourne, and it kind of made me think, is it a better place than Sydney? Or maybe it's just somewhere new. Because it was somewhere to explore for the first time, to get lost in new streets, try food I haven't really enjoyed, and kind of reconnect with people who I haven't really met. So today I'm going to talk about why Melbourne seemed better than Sydney, and how this makes me reflect on my own home. Dreams or aspirations, at least for me, are kind of everywhere. And whilst I found inspiration in Melbourne, that was kind of only because I looked for it. And the museum was one of these places that I searched. It's a big ass dinosaur. Now sure, Sydney has equally great museums, but simply by virtue of travelling to Melbourne, I was forced to explore, and exploration is conducive to inspiration. Now sure, the formality of a museum is nice, although visiting the kind of unpaid vibrancy of Hosier Lane, a remnant of Melbourne's 1920s garment industry, which sits just a couple blocks away from the museum, kind of helped me understand that the value of something actually lies within where it sits. This lane, which pretty much features on any what to do in Melbourne guide, is actually kind of emblematic of my whole trip, suggesting that maybe, just like art stripped from a golden frame and laying on a bare brick wall, that the value of my experiences change as my environment does. Of course, Sydney has great food, but simply by virtue of travelling to Melbourne, I feel like to make the most of my time, I had to go out and see what food the city had to offer. For example, everyone raves about Loon Croissants, which is like this croissant place in the centre of Melbourne. So Brian and I decided one morning, we're going to stroll out of bed, then we're going to take the trams downtown, maybe see some sights along the way, obviously film stuff, and then wait in the long ass line to get some of these croissants that everyone keeps on saying are like the best in the world. Ham and gruyere and almond. Yeah. And should I also get a soy latte?
Sure. That's a sweet camera, by the way. I don't think I've seen a design like it.
Of course, I know. Very aesthetic. Have a good day. Thank you. Alright. No, I got an almond one, but I haven't eaten it. Honestly though, the almond croissants, like they were kind of fire, but it was also really overpriced. Although the staff were also really nice too. And it was like kind of an aesthetic store too, but like really not worth standing in the line for that long for.
Are you working? What kind of work do you do?
Now the day after the museum, we travelled down to Easy's Burgers, because pretty much any Melbourne vlog I see, people go to this restaurant inside a train on top of a building. So of course, that's obviously where I strolled into too. Damn. Because we walked so much, I'm so hungry. So I think I'm gonna get the chicken bow wow. Only because I could get a triple of the chicken bow wow, but I feel like I'll get more by getting the chicken bow wow and the your mate as well. Both are singles, you know? I could do an eating challenge though, I reckon. And sorry, you don't have any like salads or anything, do you? As like sides or not? It's called Easy's Burgers, and I mean, I ain't really a burger connoisseur, but it was real nice. Just a whole lot of stairs. After exploring around the city a little bit more, day obviously turned into dusk. And so too did my hunger increase. So I thought, you know, since we were staying near Chinatown, of course I had to suss out what K-barbecue is like in Melbourne compared to Sydney. Now let's talk coffee. Of course I had a couple in Melbourne, and I kind of googled around and everyone said like this coffee called a Magic Coffee is great, but after trying it, Here's what I thought. But the magic coffee was literally just like a long black with like a dash of milk. They just give it a fancy name to make themselves like sound cool.
Yeah, did you even look up like what magic coffee is, or you just...
I think it's a ristretto, which is like based off like a European coffee. Look how educated I am, but
okay.
It's a bit stupid. Anyways, back to overanalyzing the trip. See, when traveling to Melbourne, most of my meals were out in the CBD, because when I traveled there, that's where I stayed. But this meant that compared to my average week in Sydney, in which maybe I go to training in the morning, and then after, I make some coffee at work, walk to my desk, chill out, and obviously work, my experiences in Melbourne are going to be much better than they were in Sydney. Although, I feel like if you travel somewhere for just 2 or 3 days, you're only really ever going to visit the aesthetic, Instagrammable locations because you're on such a limited time frame. But these places are never going to live up to your expectations. Places like Loon, Easy's Burgers, or just trying Melbourne coffee were all great. But I think by going to them, I kind of failed to understand, the multicultural intricacies that are found within going to like local spots. And I think that it's these restaurants that kind of make Melbourne uniquely Melbourne. So I guess as I travel around to places more and more, I have to kind of remind myself that by following trends, I'm never really going to discover anything new. Whether connecting with old friends or talking about the meaning of life on a rooftop, it's the people around us that kind of turn anywhere into somewhere. When traveling with other people, you're going to be forced to kind of see any experience in a new light. And these people that are with you to experience these things are going to heighten anything you do because you have someone there to share it with. For example, Queen Victoria Markets is a must-see place in Melbourne. Situated in basically the center of the city, and it's actually the site of Melbourne's first cemetery. There's a fun Wikipedia fact for you. So going there and seeing all these shops selling unique handmade items and these bespoke delis selling food and coffee and other miscellaneous goods, it actually reminded me a lot of Glebe Markets in Sydney. So everything kind of wasn't really all that new to me because I've been to Glebe Markets ever since I was a kid. But the thing that did make it a lot of fun was the fact that I was there with my friends and I was able to share that experience with, Brian, who was filming things as well. So Brian and I, we kind of just walked around. He wanted to buy something for his girlfriend, so we had to look for that. You get your girlfriend a We got to try on some hats. Got kicked out for filming because apparently you're not allowed to film there, but that's my fault. Anyways, this night we also went to a pool hall, which was kind of a fun experience. We have a lot of those in Sydney, but once again, it was nice just being in a new city and experiencing something that I can experience in Sydney, but experiencing it in a new environment with one of my close friends.
Me and my niggas trying to get it, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
Well, I didn't even see that, but whatever.
What's persuasive? From 9 to 5, I know it.
Now, as the time ticked over to my final night in Melbourne, I was lucky enough to visit my friend's quite aesthetic office with views overlooking all of Melbourne. And Brian, Roman and I hung out kind of until nighttime, talking about things filmmaking related and not.
Like I'm waiting.
I feel like it's quite fitting that my final night in Melbourne was spent overlooking the quiet city.
Watching you for love.
Because I feel that being dwarfed by the magnitude of the city, whilst also finding solace in the silence of such a view, perfectly encapsulates Melbourne for me. Because it reflects how my perception of the city is shaped entirely by my own willingness to experience it.